Okay, good folks, everybody. Welcome to a new small lecture of webinar. I'm Paul Aspholm. I'm going to tell about the birds in the monitoring system of EDUARCTIC. I hope you all are comfortable and well seated. Just to show you, this is a little map, and the red dot that you see up there, that's my place where I'm just sitting just now talking for you. And as you see, I'm sited a little bit east of Istanbul compared to Greek. So that's interesting to understand the map, how the terrain is working because of the birds. Some birds is flying across the sea, and some birds are flying across the land. So therefore, the mountains, the lakes, the seas is very important task for the birds to navigate and to understand where they should stop to find food and all such things. I'll just show you today we have nice weather outside. So the white arrow here is my place, and this is the temperature today around in the world. If you are interested in weather climatic issues, then you should write down this climatereanalyzer.org. That makes updated climatic variations parameters every day. So this is nice. Here you can see the temperature. This is a scale about that temperature indicator color. That's 0 degrees. That's plus 20, and the green is about 10 degrees Celsius. So I see you have a little bit warmer today in the southern part of Europe, and looks like the snow in Nice in France in the Riviera has disappeared. And so this is one thing, and also you see minus 30 we have in the Siberia and in the north, still in the northern North America. And of course there's a little bit cold in the Antarctic, so the summer is ending now in Antarctic. Well, it's rather been quite cold autumn already. But we see the lines here in the Antarctic is quite narrow, so it's a big gradient. That means there's a lot of wind, I guess. So why I'm showing this picture of temperature, because you have the phenomenon of spring, which is coming. So the birds is migrating through the spring period to the north and then back again in the autumn. So when it's getting warmer here, the bird comes to this place, and when it's getting warmer on this side again, then the birds are going the other way from north towards south. That's logic, isn't it? More or less. Some birds have to stay over and stay in my north during the whole winter, and some is only migrating a little bit, and some birds is migrating more further, and even some of them longer. So some of the species we have selected for the EDUARCTIC is the species which is migrating quite long, but not necessary, but they are of interest. So here we have the 4 species. We have the Arctic tern, Sterna paradisea. Paradisea is a nice name, isn't it? Meaning the one from paradise. And then we have the common cuckoo. And then we have the white wagtail, and which is also white-paid wagtail, it's sometimes called. And then we have the European crane, the crane, common crane. So Sterna paradisea, Cuculus caronus, Montecilla alba. Alba means white, of course, and grus, and grus means only crane. Of these ones, we are going to have the observation of the first observation of the year. So first time you see a Sterna, Arctic tern. And first time you see first observation means not only you can see them, these terns, but you can also hear them sometimes. But it's not easy to understand the sound of the different terns. The cuckoo is basically mostly heard. It's much more easy to recognize by sound. than by seeing. It's not actually very often seen, so it's that is a problem, but you can very nicely hear it. The wagtail is also very easily to hear, so it's a quite specific type of song and sounds, which is then quite nice to observe. But basically, we make observation by sight, by looking, by seeing. And then the crane is also basically by seeing, but sometimes you can hear them very clearly. They have a very interesting sounds. I will try to show you some video clips later on, so you can have a look on or hear the sounds of some of these birds. We will see if it works. Okay. The Arctic tern is the one that is making the longest travels. It travels something like 50 or 70,000 kilometers per year. That's substantial. So you see it goes from the red areas up here and down to the Antarctic, close to the shelf of the Antarctic, just outside the ice. So Arctic tern can live for more than 30 years, so it became become quite old. And then through the lifetime, they can fly 5 times forth and back, or 5 times to the moon. So here you see one tern that had been made carrying a satellite receiver or transmitter, and it started from the south of England, and it flew into the Indian Ocean in October. So it was marked in July, in the end of July, and in October, a few months later, not many, then it was in the Indian Ocean. 1 month later, this bird moved down to the Antarctic. So you see the distances. During 1 month, it flied quite large distances. And then it flew into the closer to the South America side of the Antarctic, and then it flew back and was returning to the Faroe Island in May. So they make substantial travel. So just now, if you remember the map that we saw the temperature, you see that this area was having like 10 degrees air temperature and minus 30 inside here. So now they are on this place, and now the wind is starting, like I said, because of the temperature gradients. And this is going to fly to the north. So I think the Arctic tern, it shall be here in 2 months. So it has started the way back to the north. That's fascinating, isn't it? Oh, sorry. I will just show you. These green lines is the fly that people has normally regarded the birds to be flying. This is from an older map, but I made some nice drawings here. That is, you can see them. These ones is different routes of the terns flying. They are made by my hand, not by a computer or by a other institute. But this is information I have got from people that has been recording ringing, putting rings on the leg of the terns, and then they have and then also satellite transmitters. So small transistors. This is actually a quite big one. This is for big animals, but just this little tiny thing here, the green plate, that is one transistor. This is the battery, which the battery can last for more than 3 years, 5 years, if it's not too cold. So this is just to show you. There's a lot of such instruments, and you go to the Google and you can go to the websites and YouTube to see all such. But here, so actually the Arctic tern has been observed in the eastern part of Europe and central part of Europe as well, together with another species, the common tern. But the normal flight route is along the seasides. But this is because of the climate changes and things that, because people starting to know more than we can understand better. So that's why we hope that you can make some observations as well. I try to click next picture. Yes. Because one of the big problem is the confusion between the species. There's two species which is looking quite the same. This is the Arctic tern, and this is the common tern. They look quite the same, but if you look here, you see the bill is darker on the common tern. On the Arctic tern, it is quite just red, and also the feet is smaller. It's on the Arctic tern, the feet is only half compared to the common tern. And you see the bill, it's not so good on this picture, but the bill here on the common tern is a little bit curved. On the Arctic tern, it's more straight, such. And then the forehead is a little bit different. This is more steep, and this is more softer. So this bird is a little bit less than this one. So they are nearly the same size. This Arctic tern is about 30 centimeter long something, and the wingspan is like 60 to 70 centimeters. So it's a small, nice bird. The common tern is a little bit bigger, but not very much, because if you see here, you see the tail of the bird. This is the wing, and this is the other wing. On this here you see the wing and the wing. The tail here is a little bit longer than the wings when they are sitting. So the tail is coming outside of the wings. On the common tern, the tail is ending under the wing. So the tail is not continuing after. Okay? Here you see the common tern and the Arctic tern. They are breeding basically in the same type of habitats, and therefore the Arctic tern is more north distributed compared to the common tern, which is more common in southern Scandinavia and in Europe. It's altogether in Europe we have 13 species of terns. So there is some of them is looking very much the same, and in autumn when we have young terns of different species, it's very difficult to see them. Therefore, the observation to see them in the spring is a little bit easier. This Arctic tern is when they are flying, they are a little bit more acrobatic. The Arctic tern is a little bit more like a butterfly. It's moving, looking a little bit more happy, while the common tern and the other bigger terns, they are flying very straight and no mess. So you can see if it's a little bit optimistic bird, then you have a little bit better. When they are flying, you can see in the Arctic tern, you can see through the wing feather. The feather is like transparent, more or less. So you can see the light through them. In the common tern, you don't see through them. So here is the common cuckoo, which is one of the other species that we are going to make registration, is also a bird that makes quite a lot of migration from these winter areas in Central Africa, southern part of Africa, and then up to the summer area. So it's flying quite a lot of long distances. The cuckoo is looking like a predator bird. Actually, it is not so very far in relation. So even though today it's not killing much other birds, but it's eating more insects and these things, it is have genetics from the birds of prey. And it looks a little bit like one hawk, for example. This is a sparrow hawk. So this looking make also some of the feature that is making it as an interesting bird. The cuckoo is most of the cuckoo family is birds that is parasites. Not all of the cuckoo family is parasitic birds, but we call them parasite birds because they go to and find the nest of other birds and put their egg into the nest, one egg, and this egg is then hatched by this other bird family that was living there, and the chick is pushing out the other eggs and the other chicks, and then it's the only chick which is left in the nest. So, and the host family need to feed and will feed the cuckoo chick until it is able to fly. So, and the different cuckoos is individual cuckoos is specialized on special types of host birds. So, like the blue throat, the wagtails, and other birds, they are and pipit larks and such. These are the host for the egg of this cuckoo. And one of the interesting thing is it's looking like a bird of prey, a predator bird, and that makes the birds to get aggressive. The cuckoo is not attacking the host birds, but it's just sitting down, and then the other birds is getting annoyed to it because they think it is a predator and they want to defend their area, and then this host bird is revealing themselves. They're showing themselves, so the cuckoo can more easily find the nest and start to put the egg into it. But they need to do it. So first, the cuckoo makes orientation in an area to find out if there is any nesting of the suitable host family birds, and then it when they follow the birds, the host family birds, and when they are gone for a while or outside of the nest, then she goes very quickly and lay her egg. Just in a few 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, she lay her egg. The female and the male cuckoos is a little bit similar, but the female is normally bigger and has more stripes compared to the male. One other special interesting thing by the cuckoo is the cuckoos, when they have put out the egg, they will eat in the north, and then the adult will start flying south. The young chick will develop in the north, and much later they fly through from the north to the south. So they are flying by different time of returning to the south. Okay. Our other species in the wagtail is the white wagtail. So we like to have the registration in the spring when these birds is coming. It's a very little nice bird, and it has its sounds of chit 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 and such, civilit, which is then easily heard. But when you see the bird first time, you can also, there's a lot of superstition. If the bird is looking on you or it's flying away from you, you will have luck or non-luck, be unfortunate. So it was a very interesting bird with a lot of folk culture across Europe. In summer, it's where you see the yellow area and the blue area is the wintering area. In the green area of Europe, of Central Europe, Southern Europe, it's occurring even through the winter, depending on the climate. So when you have a very hard snowy session just the last weeks, the wagtails have moved out of Southern Europe, and then it will start to come back. So the wagtail is starting to fly into to Southern Europe, I think this week or next week. So you should look for this bird. There's a little bit difference between the males and the females. The males is a little bit more darker, and the females is looking a little bit more more beautiful in a way. Okay. So this one is actually a wild bird, but it has become more and more urbanized. And it's very common in a lot of cities as well. So this should not be any problem for you to see. It's even been seen to the Svalbard, but it's not common there. But it occurs on Iceland and all of our area of the EDU-ARCTIC. So this one you should know. Okay. Just to mention, so the one that we usually have, this alba, is distributed like this, but there is in England there is another variant which is a little bit more darker, as you see on this picture. So this is the different type of subspecies of wagtails. There is also yellow wagtails. So if you see a white wagtail which is yellow, then it's another species. And those species is also on the migration just now. In my area, they arrive approximately in beginning of May, end of April, beginning of May. So they fly a little bit lighter. Yeah, I was going to show I will try to show this YouTube after on. It didn't work when we was making the presentation directly, so I will have to try to find it. The other species, or the fourth species, which is the one in our EDUARCTIC monitoring, is the common crane, the European crane, or just crane, grus. Most of you maybe have seen them flying like this. And if you to see if it is a crane, you see it had this white part on the cheek, and looking dark under, and a little bit lighter gray under on the wing. When they are walking, you see this fantastic tail. So the wing feather and the tail make like a camel hump on the end of the bird. This is the migration summer area of the birds, and this is the winter areas of the cranes. So they should be flying across your head in central part of Eastern Europe and Southern Europe just these days, I guess. In my area, they arrive approximately in end of April, beginning of May, depending on the snow conditions and these things a little bit. So they're flying in groups of some few, or maybe in some up to a few hundred. That is normally when they are flying on the migration to the north. On the migration to the north, they have the chick from last year flying with them. So the mother and the father. So you can see normally if they even like a bigger group, they fly together, the family, and then there's several families flying together. So you can see what is the young birds, and you can see what is the old birds or older parent birds. and they keep together until they come to the north, and then the youngsters has to leave the parents, and then the parents make new nest and new brood, new chicks. So here you see a flock of cranes on my fields just outside my window. So behind there, that's my office house. Here you see the the cranes. And they actually here, even this is a picture from autumn, you see from the yellowish leaves, early morning. Here you see the birds is sitting more or less, or walking and feeding together in the family groups, more or less. And it's fantastic. These birds fly together. The different families follow together to the area like in my place, and here they are dividing into different places to make the separate nesting. And then in the autumn they meet back. So they're coming back to the fields here, and when they are, these birds is really talking. They're talking to each other. So when a family with a new young chick is flying into the fields, they will start to make the trumpeting for 2 kilometers away to say, here we come, is there anybody out in the fields? And then they start to communicate. Then they land, and then all the cranes is discussing what has happened during the summer and what was going good or wrong or whatever, I don't know. But they have a lot of communication. So that is very interesting. And then in the spring, the common crane makes big meeting places in some of the parts through the Europe. So in southern Spain, in a couple of places of France, and in Sweden, this place Hornborgasjön. The Hornborgasjön is in the central, middle, southern Sweden. Here, tens of thousands of cranes is meeting during the spring in April to make grouping, and here also they are starting to play. New partners is finding each other to make a new marriage, so to say. These birds is living male and female, usually long time together. So they are parent for several chicks together. Normally, the crane is getting 1 or 2 or 3 chicks. They maybe make 3 eggs, sometimes only 2 eggs, and then the chicks are then growing and living with them for about 1 year. After the parent has left the fields in my area in the spring, the chicks are bachelors, just living in smaller groups together without making couples. They make the couples next year again, when they come to especially when they come to this Hornborgasjön. The second year, then they make love, to say. They are beautiful, but for a lot of people, they don't like the sound, the trumpeting of the cranes. But of course, I love it, because that is an enormous feeling of the spring that is coming and the power of the spring. Well, as you understand, I'm a little bit enthusiastic about birds. So I've been trying to study birds for a few years. So I started when I was about 10 years. Then I started with my binocular, and I got my books of birds, and then studying these nice creatures. Well, they are not always nice, but as a phenomenon, they are nice. The cranes is a large bird. They're weighing 5-6 kilo usually. And they are 1 meter and 30 centimeter tall, as normal. They look a little bit like a stork, so they can be mixed with the white stork, And if you don't see, you can also mix them with a black stork, the forest stork. But normally it's quite visible to be the crane. Like I said, when they're walking, you have this tail that you can see, and they have this shape of head, a not so very big bill compared to the stork. The stork bill is usually more colored, and the legs of the stork is also colored. The legs of the crane is more dark. So they're looking much the same in a way. But if you notice on the bird just here, on the wing, in the inner wing, the crane is making an angle, or they can make an angle. When the storks are looking, they're more looking like a big door flying. You see? So this one, you can see the difference of these two species. So this is the species that we like to have in our registration, that you make your registration. Okay? So just showing you the chick of a crane. The eggs is a little bit less than my fist, so it's something like this. It's a big chicken egg, so to say. Like I said, 2 or 3 eggs, and the chick is hatched with very long legs and very downy feathers, and it looks very nice. Actually, it's very cute and reddish. It has a very red appearance of the color of the downy feathers, and actually they are very good swimmers. Look at this. The parent is not able to swim very well, but the chicks, they are really good to swim. So they're swimming like ducks in a way, but not so quick. But still, that's one of the ways. The storks is having the nest on the trees and such. The cranes is having the nest on ground in mire, very wetland. So wetland is very important here in the north for the cranes. So the cranes make a small island of vegetation, of grass and other type of herbs and such, and then make a nest which is on a very tiny little island. So it's away from foxes and most other of these land predators. But of course, when you have climate change and these things, that can influence both negatively and positively on the nesting of the cranes. So one of the big things we see is the changes of the land because of the climate. So for the Arctic tern, the life is changing because the food is getting more and more scarce. They have to fly longer and longer to find their food along on the migration route. So imagine like the Arctic tern, they're flying from Antarctic, where they have the polar day with 24 hours of midnight sun, or sun through the 24 hours, and then they fly through the equator in the tropics, where there's only 12 hours light and dark, and then they fly to the north again, where they're flying into the Arctic summer, which is having the midnight sun. So by this, I say thank you, but I will try to see if I can manage to find this and open to show you these YouTube clips. Okay, thank you.